Welcome back to the channel, guys. S Major X back here with another video, and today's video is about why switching from academia, switching from being an academic who's in school, who's learning A levels, who's learning, who's going to university, who's done their GCSEs, switching from an academic or being in academia to entrepreneurship, the struggles that you're going to face. And I want to talk about why it's so hard to make that switch, right? And the first reason I can talk about personally from my own personal anecdotal experience is that with academia, it gives you structure. Like, academia tells you what to do. Like, for example, if you're learning biology or maths or any other subject in school, maybe in your GCSEs, maybe in your A levels, you have lessons, you have course structure, you have a syllabus, you have textbooks. When you are trying to make 10K a month out of nothing, out of thin air, only using your laptop and tools that you can learn online, there is no textbook that's going to tell you exactly step by step how to do it. There is no course structure. So I realized that, like, in academia, you get so adjusted to like course structure and being told what to do. Whereas with like whereas with entrepreneurship, progress is literally made by sitting in a room, not knowing what to do, panicking, trying something, failing at it, and then trying again. Progress is only made by execution. Progress is not made by studying. So when I was younger, for example, I would study further maths or something like that, right? In my A levels, for example. And the way that we learned further maths was we'd get a textbook out, we'd go through the textbook, we'd read some of the key points, and then we'd go through worked examples. From worked examples, we'd go to questions, and bit by bit, we could just like work our way up and build and feel good about ourselves. Whereas in like entrepreneurship, it's not necessarily like that. Because, for example, let's say in biology you have a 9 marker question that's 9 marks that you got to remember 9 things for. Your brain is then conditioned to think that, okay, the more effort I put in, the better, which isn't true necessarily in entrepreneurship. Because, for example, sometimes when I'm solving problems, like for example, I'm doing AI, when I'm solving problems, the only thing that matters here is how efficient the solution is. So there are times where I've like gone out of my way, solved the problem, used a harder solution, for example, compared to an easy one. And when I'm like, because I have some friends that review my projects, when they review my projects, they told me that no, 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 the easy one's the most efficient one. And this is another thing that you learn. Your brain is so conditioned that the harder you work, the better. The more efficient the result is not true. Like sometimes solving problems can be so simple and easy, and I feel like with academia you're so used to like overcomplicating it. And another thing as well, it's like you have a textbook when you are studying. In entrepreneurship, that doesn't exist. To get to 10K a month, there is no textbook in the world that's going to get you to 10K a month, because the markets are always changing and etc. Like, business is complete chaos. Honestly, the most progress that I make ever in business nowadays happens by me sitting in a room, not knowing what to do, and just executing and taking action. And this is the one thing that I've realized that will help you more than ever, and it's learning by doing. Learning by doing, guys. I cannot under whatever. I can't understate how underrated this is. Learning by taking action is the one. It is pretty much the equivalent of the gym. The gym has probably taught me this the best. And what I can say is, like, studying for 6 months in a room for some test that's going to happen at the end of the year, that's not how you're going to make money. You're going to make money by like sitting down on the desk, trying to solve a problem, um, and like thinking of solutions. It is absolutely chaotic. Business is absolutely chaotic. It is chaos all of the time. There are so many unpredictable variables, and there is no like structure to it. You're probably used to like being told worked examples, textbooks, course structure, syllabuses, specifications. But in business, there is no such thing. There really is not. Another thing I can tell you is that, like, my third point is probably, your brain has been conditioned probably from the age of 5 years old to sit down in a classroom, learn from the teacher, and do a test. And I think that that kind of stunts your creativity. Like, for example, let's say when you was 14 years old, right? You were studying biology. Your teacher probably told you that if you don't get these three key words right that the examiner is looking for, even if your answer is technically correct, your teacher probably told you that the examiner would mark your question wrong. And I think that is so bad for young people to hear because it stunts your creativity so much in the future because you're so used to an examiner. You're so used to whatever they tell you is right is correct. But in this industry that you're in, business or solving problems, and I am speaking generally because generally most business is the same, that doesn't exist. Like there can be many solutions to one problem. There isn't just what the examiner says. And like something like that, like especially from like when you were 14, it might stunt your creative growth for like forever. Like school teaches you to chase marks, keywords, but it doesn't teach you creativity. It doesn't teach you how to like creatively solve problems. Now there are exceptions to the rule. There are different things, but even like I studied computer science in A levels. I got an A in my computer science project, and you can make the project on anything. But if you didn't follow certain key like parameters, you would not get a mark, regardless of how good your project was. So like the number one thing that I can just reinstate and try and reinforce, and this is the most important point in the video, guys, and I need you to pay attention to this right now. And the most important point is entrepreneurship or business in general is all about execution. It's all about learning by doing. It's all about making mistakes because making mistakes is going to help you. You're probably scared as a kid when you were doing your GCSEs to get a grade wrong because maybe you would have like gone down a set or something like that, right? But in entrepreneurship, or maybe your teacher would have shouted at you. But in entrepreneurship, making mistakes is the key. Learning by doing is the key. There were so many times in my journey where, you know, I would like take notes on certain skills that I was learning because I thought that was a good thing. You know what I mean? Like I would make flashcards about certain things. Whereas if I didn't do that, if I just like did, like tried, even if I had no clue what was going on, that was the better thing. Because your brain is so conditioned to like sitting down in the classroom, getting force fed the information by the teacher, and then learning and then doing it slow. Whereas in business, like you gotta accept being in chaos. You gotta accept not knowing what the hell to do, then sitting down for 4 hours, 6 hours, and trying to solve the problem, even if you can't. And then by the end of the 6 hours, you're just a step or two closer because you figured something out. That is exactly how progress is made. That is literally how progress is made. There is no other way that I've probably made progress. It's not linear. It's not like a linear curve, right? Where everything is just in a straight line. It is chaotic as hell. It is extremely chaotic. And that's one thing I can say. So, if you are switching from academia, if you are switching from education, and you are leaning towards entrepreneurship, because again, you probably might be like me, you're probably disenfranchised with the system. You don't think that it's going to get you rich. You don't think that it's going to do a lot for you. If you are switching, then you need to learn by doing. You need to learn how to be a creative problem solver, and you need to learn by action. Action is going to trump planning always. I know that in A levels, or I know in GCSEs, right? If you plan out your studies before, and if you start studying in September, then by the time for the July exams, you're going to get a really good mark, right? Here it doesn't exist. Here there are no exams. The only metric that anybody ever follows is just money. So it's quite a big switch because, let's say you're 19 now, 20 now, 18 now. You've been conditioned for the last 15, 16, 17 years, however long you've been in school, maybe from the age of 3, to like learn like this. And personally for me, just getting out of the education system, getting out of doing my A levels and switching from education to entrepreneurship was a extremely big change. And these are some of the issues that I'd gone through. So guys, if you do find the video helpful, please hit a like below, subscribe if you wish, and that's all from me today. Peace out.